Welcome to SAT TV's news. I am Shanna, Esprit, your presenter. Among the major developments, 61 students bid farewell to Fairchild Secondary. Grenada police investigate children pornography photos posted on Facebook. Singapore smog from Indonesia fire could last weeks. And in sports, result of games played in the Lime National Basketball League. Details of this will follow.
Me say we just get the remedy for the pagan them. Me just get the remedy for bad mind and jealousy. Who want to see me dead? Me just get the remedy. Suck TV, Jammy say. You don't know what Javinche you watching Suck TV. Lord, is it straight triple dose.
Welcome back. A total of 18 internal and external assessors are now Caribbean vocational qualified after they completed training in preparation for technical and vocational education being introduced at secondary schools island-wide. The aim of the Caribbean vocational qualification training is to develop the ideal Caribbean worker certified by the Caribbean Examination Council that define the core work of an occupational area consistent with the level articulated within the regional qualification framework. Speaking at the certificate ceremony on Wednesday, June 19th, Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Mr. Stephenson Hyacinth, says the CVQ will be introduced in the new school year beginning with a pilot program.
The introduction of the Caribbean vocational qualification CVQs is significant due to the fact that in today's globally competitive environment, the skill and credentials are the new currency. Technical vocational education and training, TVET, is regarded as a critical agent of economic development. It has been recognized that today's workplace requires a well-rounded, well-educated, and trained individual with a mixture of knowledge and skills, both technical and academic, as well as employable skills.
Our students in Dominica cannot afford to lag behind other students in the Caribbean and the world, and we must prepare them to be competitive in this global market. Education systems in the Caribbean have realized that if they are to remain effective, they must respond to demands and needs of the marketplace, added Mr. Hyacinth.
TVET programming therefore must provide students with an array of practical opportunities and real-life experiences to develop their knowledge, skills, and attitude to be acceptable to the acceptable levels as demanded by the industries or workplaces. In today's context, TVET clients are not just schools and college students or graduates. They include the population of workers and unemployed persons, male and female, who need training, retraining, retooling, reskilling, and a form of certification. One of the obstacles to the acceptance of TVET is a lack of knowledge or misinformation.
According to the Chief Education Officer, TVET is an excellent educational option, providing the knowledge and the skills needed in the workplace with a greater livelihood of leading a related employment and excellent earning opportunities. Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, Honorable Peter Seja, explained, skill training is essential as we begin to realize economic growth, a reduction in poverty, decreased unemployment rates, and promote sustainable development. In the new knowledge economy, skills and credentials in specific areas of technical expertise are provided more and more valuable to the global citizen in their search for employment.
Our focus, therefore, on technical and vocational education and training is no doubt the right course of action. You will agree that education is the single most powerful weapon against poverty. And as a government, we are increasingly aware of the social and economic relevance of skills in this new global economy. Therefore, we are preparing our citizens to succeed in the world of work by giving them the opportunity to acquire knowledge and skills from basic to advanced levels across a wide range of institutional and work settings.
The Dominica Grammar School will pilot the CVQ program in food preparation and cosmetology, the Northeast Comprehensive School in crop production, and the Goodwill Secondary School in garment production. We have also sought to prepare our schools to function effectively as CVQ centers through the procurement of equipment and materials to well over $3 million under the Education Enhancement Project. This investment will also jumpstart and continue with programs in furniture making, plumbing, physical education, electricity and electronics, among others, Mr. Seja explained.
The economies of some of the major countries, and indeed globalization, is forcing others to take a renewed interest in this branch of education. And here in Dominica, we have taken note, and the TVET Council must take the lead in taking this new way of thinking to the mainstream.
Take a look at some of the Caribbean vocational qualification trained assessors receiving their certificates.
Sabinwa Hunter. Let's put our hands together, let's make them feel special as they come forward. Angela Olivache. Diva Baron. Joycelyn Frank. Malika Marks, or Malaika. Jack Frank.
In more news, the National Development of Dominica Limited hosted a small business consultation on Wednesday, June 19th for prospective and existing small business owners in Roseau and its immediate environs. The session was aimed at informing the small business community of NDFD's financial products and services.
The objectives, among the objectives of the foundation, were to promote self-help development among the less privileged sector in the country and to mobilize and coordinate available resources in order to fund the small business, and at the time it was quoted as the underprivileged sector. And the foundation is also charged to encourage and advance scientific endeavors, educational endeavors, and social development endeavors. So
following the initial presentation was an open forum regarding the challenges that small business persons are currently facing.
You hear the NDFD is sponsoring something, then it means that this, whatever it is sponsoring or assisting in, it all boils back to its original reason for being here. So we can do sponsors, we can fund, we can loan certain things. The conditions under which the organization is to operate. One is that it cannot be a trade union, and I think at the time in 1981 the trade union thing was really a big thing, and then the founding members wanted to protect the organization from not getting into that trade union kind of business, and the foundation must do things that are within the laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica.
New Executive Director of the National Development Foundation of Dominica, Cletus Joseph, mentioned a few of the conditions which the organization operates by. Any income generated and earned must be used within the organization.
So therefore, the founding members or the members of the organization, they get no rebate, no dividends, no interest, no return on whatever equity they put in, whatever contributions they make. They do not get any returns on that. So it's an investment that they make, and they just make it as part of their social responsibility, and they do not get any returns on that. So therefore it's non-profit, and then every surplus goes back into the organization's own work.
Mr. Joseph explained that if someone chooses to become a paying member of the organization, a minimum contribution of $500 is requested annually. However, this is a one-time investment which does not permit any returns. In other news, the Ministry of Agriculture, in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, are currently working on an early warning system for food and nutrition security while identifying vulnerable groups as it relates to food and nutrition. As a result of this, 2 consultants from the FAO are currently on island, where they will be engaged in a fact-finding mission to gather recommendations on moving this process forward. Consultant for the Food and Agriculture Organization, Dr. Ballayram, says the FAO is in the design phase of establishing a food security early warning system for the Caribbean region, and Dominica is no exception.
Specifically with respect to Dominica, this early warning system has to do with food security, which is defined as when everyone has physical and economic access to safe and nutritious food, and they are not at risk of losing that access. So in effect, food security has to do with 4 main components or pillars. First, food must be available. Secondly, people must have access to that food. Thirdly, people must use that food and consume it in a way that leads to good health and nutrition. And finally, there should be stability in these 3 components I mentioned before. So that's what food security is. And an early warning system then would be defined in terms of providing alerts to policymakers of any impending crisis in these 4 pillars of food security.
Dr. Ballayram explained the advantage of this early warning system is long before an impending crisis. Policymakers will have an insight of it to take proper corrective measures to safeguard the food security of their population. My task here is to identify the vulnerable food groups and secondly, identify indicators of food security, as everyone should be conscious of food security.
But we know that because of the inequalities of society, inequalities of income, inequalities of employment, inequalities to access to wealth and the foundation for making access to food and so on, there's tremendous inequality in all countries. So whenever there's a crisis, we know that there are certain groups of people who are disproportionately affected by these crises. We call those people the vulnerable groups, or livelihoods that are vulnerable. We define a livelihood as the main economic activity that support a family. So we can think of small farmers as a livelihood, fisher folks as livelihoods. So my task then is to identify who are these vulnerable people, where they are located, how many they are, what can be done to address their vulnerability, and what is causing that vulnerability.
Management Information Consultant Dr. Stephen Louis noted his initial task on this mission is to conduct a situation analysis of available systems within Dominica that support information on food and nutrition security. These may not necessarily be systems that are specific to food security, but there may be systems used by various agencies for the primary functions, whether it's agriculture production or food and nutrition surveillance.
All of those systems may be of some relevance. So we want to identify the systems that exist, as well as identify the possible sources of data for a food security early warning system. Secondly, I have the responsibility for articulating the concept for the early warning system in terms of specifying how it will function, what exactly it will do, what data it will require, who are expected to use it, and the technical platform. And thirdly, I have to demonstrate the function in the form of a prototype that actually shows the functioning early warning system. I should emphasize that the concept of the early warning system is based on a presumption that there are other systems at the national level that produce the data that is required for early warning.
Dr. Louis added, the early warning system will provide a facility for compiling food security data and presenting it in a format that allows the policymakers and sometimes the public to assess the situation in a holistic approach to determine whether there is a risk for food security. This system will be implemented in phases and continuously updated until there is a completely functional system, as stated by Dr. Louis. In other news, 61 students attained their high school diploma when the Pierre Charles Secondary School in Grand Bay presented its annual graduation ceremony. The latest graduating class consisted of a third group of government's USEC program students. Pierre Charles Secondary School Principal Mrs. Shirley Samuel, in delivering her remarks, advised the students to embrace their new environment with determination and a spirit that, amongst other qualities, is a strong will.
To make sure you have a relationship with the Lord. Finally, we have read the word forge. Forge your way to good success. The sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. You are young. It is not like the days before when we had very limited resources. Now there are lots of scholarships. People assist. You have lots of ways to improve yourself.
Student of the Year, Ms. Zanisha Titre, also told her fellow students that no matter where their paths leads from here, there is a higher being to which they can always go when things are not going the way they expected. She recommended that they take time to seek the one above, and he will direct and protect them along the way. She called upon her fellow graduates to be mindful of many lessons that would have been learned.
All, in a very special way, I would like to say thank you to my mom, Heather, and both my dads, Willis and David. Without you guys, my journey would not have been possible. I love you all. In closing, I would like to address my fellow students today. As we say our official goodbyes as Special Secondary, it is not indeed goodbye, but more like see you soon. While we all head in different directions, be it college, work, or a year or two sabbatical, I am certain that our paths will cross along the way. However, no matter where your path leads you, there is a higher being to which we can always go to when things are not going the way we expect. Take time to seek Him, and He will direct and protect you along the way. I took time to seek Him, and my prayers will certainly answer. Also, be mindful of the many lessons that you have learned. Advice from parents, teachers, friends, and your life experiences are some of the best things to take with you throughout the journey. I am ready to face the road ahead, and success will be my driver. Congratulations to the class of 2013. We did it.
Minister of Education, Honorable Peter Seja, had this to say.
I want to implore you to consider very seriously your role as partners in the whole process of national development. Your country, Dominica, has provided for you during your 5 years here at Pierre Charles. It has been for you a moment of preparation. And as you go out, some of you will get involved in the world of work. Some of you will move on to further your education.
Students who graduated with honors were Dean Desiree, Elisha Titre, Lisette Ellie, Shisha Xavier. Students who graduated with distinctions were Andrick Moses, Aliyah Bellot, Chelsea Francis, Gordon Roy, Justin Alexander, Chanel Fragist. We now go to the clips of the ceremony.
Jesna Anslam. Talia Don't Afraid. Shisha Xavier.
In other stories, the Ministry of Agriculture has suggested that a major shift in the way farmers do business in relation to bananas may be the solution to increasing Dominica's banana productivity and exports. The meeting included representatives of Winfresh, the company responsible for marketing Dominica's bananas, the Dominica Agriculture Producers and Export Limited, DAPEX, and the Dominica National Fair Trade Organization. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Eisenhower Douglas, said it has been agreed that a more scientific approach should be embraced as means of sustaining the island's banana industry. According to Mr. Douglas, Dominica has much more competition now. We need to be much more scientific in production at the national level, stated Mr. Douglas. The Permanent Secretary made mention that in recent years Dominica has experienced a significant decline in banana exports and there is agreement that the country can do much better. Dominica's government recently launched the banana accompanying measures where $54 million from the European Union was injected into the island's agriculture sector as a means of boosting that sector. In more news, former acting Chief Justice of the OECS Supreme Court, Sir Brian Alleyne, is against the conduct of a few practitioners who are allegedly destroying the reputation of the legal profession. On Tuesday, 18th June, a lecture on faith and the legal system was organized by the Diocese of Roseau at the Fortune Hotel, where Mr. Alleyne said the legal system is not regulated as it should be.
I would like to speak about an issue relating to my profession, the legal profession, of which I am proud, but in some respects severely disturbed. It used to be referred to as the honorable profession. I fear that in some circles today, it is not considered to be either honorable or professional. Too often we hear of dishonorable conduct, in particular intermeddling in clients' funds by members of the profession. One such case, in my view, is too often. There are other complaints which I need not go into at this time, but the profession is not regulated as it ought to be.
He further emphasized that some practitioners carry on their own merry way, and when clients complain, they receive no satisfaction. He said in a small community like the legal profession in Dominica, self-regulation is difficult.
I have to draw attention to the fact that some 20 years ago, a draft legal profession bill was circulated for comment. That bill made provision for regulation of the profession, including oversight of financial probity on the part of practitioners, particularly in relation to monies collected on behalf of and in trust for clients. And I emphasize that clients' funds are held in trust.
In more news, residents along the Rosa River from Coptol to Bath Estates Football House have been placed on alert subsequent to a massive landslide on Tuesday, 18th June. Acting National Disaster Preparedness Coordinator Don Corriette said the magnitude of the landslide in the area requires immediate intervention to avoid dangerous exposure to the residents along the river. Therefore, further assessments were carried out today in the area to determine the necessary actions that should be taken.
Okay, on Tuesday, we were literally at a landslide that occurred in the Coptol area, just behind the Martin Alleyne's residence. And the implications were for the free flowing of the Rosa River. So we responded to the call and we did an assessment. And in our opinion, it warranted that we alert the people downstream for the possible flash flooding downstream because of the magnitude of the landslide.
He said the alert was also issued due to a pending tropical wave that was forecasted to affect the island on 18th of June.
We did not get the full effects of the tropical wave. Therefore, we did not get a flood, or the river did not crest. The Ministry of Public Works, together the Disaster Office, the Fire Service, and the Police Service, did an assessment on Tuesday evening, and we informed the Disaster Committee at Bath Estate and the disaster response teams at Backer State to be on alert for short notice for flash flooding.
Further assessment was completed on Wednesday, 19th June with the Ministry of Public Works. However, Mr. Corriette said the area was still too soggy to hold heavy equipment in the river. Meanwhile, the area will be monitored before any further assessment is completed.
As we speak, we have reduced the alert for the people downstream. We are of the opinion that the river has cut through the debris and is now free-flowing to the extent that the heightened alert we had on Tuesday, in our opinion, could be reduced. We'll do a further assessment today in the course of the morning.
The implications are for the low-lying bridge at Coptall. Mr. Corriette is concerned that if there is a rush of debris from the Coptall area, it may likely cause blockage at the Emsall Bridge, which may result in flooding. However, the Ministry of Public Works has taken initiative to ensure the channels at the Emsall Bridge are kept clear, allowing any rush of water free passage.
And in the interim, we're trying to see if we can manage to retrain the river towards the northern bank to avoid any waters from pushing down the large trees and other debris that has fallen into the river as a result of the slide. So that assessment will continue to do this morning, and hopefully, if the situation permits, we may put some equipment in the river today.
In other news, the St. John's Primary School captured round 2 of the DBS Radio Ministry of Education and COT-sponsored National Reading Competition 2013. The articulate Jovanni Peter performed exceptional in both rounds of the competition on Wednesday, June 19th at the Public Service Union building. He was able to accumulate a total of 252 points, which won him first position from a competition of 9 other students.
Dame Goody muttered a string of magic words that sounded very strange to Winnie. Then she clapped the lid onto the tin and nodded her head at him. "The spell will work tomorrow morning," she said. "I hope it's all right. It's rather old, you see. It may have gone a bit wrong." "What should it do?" asked William.
Khalid Libla, student from the Penville Primary, came in second position with 237 points.
"She was a funny little old lady, and she had most peculiar eyes. Sometimes they looked grey and sometimes they looked green."
Paybush Primary student Solaika Dupini with a total of 230 points won third position. Nairela Seja, who represented the Clifton Primary School, came in fourth position with a total of 228 points, while Grace Vidal from the Coolibisri Primary followed closely with 227 points in fifth position. The Temple Seventh-day Adventist student Anisha Ostri was in sixth position with a total of 226 points. The students made 2 presentations where they were judged on reading accuracy, correct interpretation of punctuation, distinct pronunciation of words, and emphasis of keywords. Other participants of the competition included the W.S. Stevens Primary, Salisbury Primary, Calibishi Primary, and Wesley Primary Schools. The next reading competition will be held on Friday, 22nd June 2013. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.